Satan is hot. Like, I mean, really hot. And not just because he lives in hell. Like look at him. Oh, Jesus, look at this one. And this. Oh, and this one, oh, fuck. He's, dare I say it, devilishly handsome. But seriously, just look. And this all started with John Milton's Paradise Lost, in which our anti-hero, Lucifer, is cast out of heaven. I'm not going to try and cover the whole epic poem today, but instead we will discuss the 3-day war between Satan and his cohorts against heaven and the angels. A short section of Paradise Lost, in books 5 through 6. It starts with our homeboy, Satan, getting pissed off because he finds out that God has named his son heir to his power and his new right-hand man. This gets Lucifer really riled up, because he was God's right-hand man, and now he's been cast aside like a common plaything.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Satan rallies his forces, a whole third of heaven's entire force, and every one of his men follow him, everyone except Abdiel. Abdiel is a minor character but a high-ranking angel, with unmatched zeal and obedience to God. He denounces Satan and walks off shunned by his former comrades, returning to the glory of God.
War were declared.
Satan and his legions boldly charge into heaven and go to war against heaven. But they are met by a great army led by Michael, Gabriel and Uriel. The battle begins. It should be noted that angels cannot be killed except by absolute annihilation. And the battle rages until Lucifer is injured.
Good for you!
And Satan's flaming legions retreat, and so concludes the first day of fighting. If God is so almighty, why would he allow such violence and destruction in heaven? This is so his son may save the day on the third day, and claim the glory of victory. It was a different time. The second day, Satan decides to get tactical.
Get tactical, Marines!
Instead of fighting head-on outnumbered, the many legions decide to build great cannons, unlike those seen on Earth, and I mean these things are huge. Gabriel and Uriel realise they're outmatched and begin losing, but soon the angel Michael hatches a plan. The absolute mad lad decides to pick up a mountain and throw it at Hell's soldiers. Lucifer's men have to dig themselves out from under the mountains, and the fighting ends on the second day. The last day of the war, and it's time for Jesus. He comes down and with the power of God given to him surrounds the fallen angels and forces them out of heaven. Jesus receives the glory of victory and Satan falls through chaos for 9 days till they reach hell. In hell, this is where they plot their revenge, but that's a story for another time. The influence of Paradise Lost as a whole is huge, and I suggest you go read it because it is a truly beautiful poem. It started the sexy Satan trend. Ooh. And God, just look at Tom Ellis as Lucifer Morningstar. You know what, let's just take a hot sec and appreciate him.
You're jealous.
The devil doesn't get jealous. I'm the one who inspires passion in others. I mean, you know that.
Don't I ever.
My dick is uncomfortably erect at this point.
The whole book could get its own video on how it's influenced pop culture. But just from these 2 chapters alone, we can still see a massive influence on our culture. There's the weapons the fallen angels use. They are flaming swords, and flaming swords have become a staple in media that involves hell. So take Doom, for example. There are points where the weapons come directly from hell, like the Crucible, and these weapons are directly inspired by flaming swords from Paradise Lost. The UK heavy metal band Cradle of Filth.
Here, it's Cradle of Filth. It got me through some pretty bleak times. Try track 4, Coffin Fodder. It sounds horrible, but it's actually quite beautiful.
On their concept album Damnation and a Day, spend 4 songs discussing Paradise Lost, with the intro track of this section, Damned in Any Language, and then in brackets, a plague on words, specifically referring to the war and Lucifer being driven out of heaven. With the other songs representing other parts of the poem, such as the serpent tongue being about the devil seducing Eve. In Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, there can be seen on Khan's bookshelves many books, including Paradise Lost, This may seem like a very odd detail to include in the video about how Paradise Lost is an influence on pop culture, but all the books on these shelves represent some part of Khan's life. This one represents both his fall and his obsession with defeating Kirk and the Enterprise are standing here for God and heaven. In the game Darksiders, the main character, Abaddon, makes a similar choice as Satan. When given the choice between serving in heaven and ruling in hell, he chooses to betray God and rule in hell as Satan once did, and fight with the Lord. And these are just the ones that are inspired by these two chapters. If I was to speak about the whole book, I would be here for hours. And that is The War in Heaven. As always, I would definitely recommend reading the source material. In this case, it would be Paradise Lost. It is a wonderful poem, even if at times it can be a little long and wordy. The poem has had a massive influence on modern pop culture, and the war in particular has had a huge influence on its own. Now, before I do my regular outro, I just want to say that I've got a new mic, so I hope this sounds better for you. If it doesn't, please let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Remember to like and subscribe, ring the bell if you want notifications, leave a comment if you've got any suggestions or ideas for what you want to see in a future video, and I'll see you guys next week, babies.